Hello, sixth grade math class. Welcome to week 7. Today we are going to be working on multiplying fractions. As a quick reminder, a fraction is a number model for some sort of a real life thing that we're talking about, right? So if we're talking about some sort of a cup of water and there is this much in here, we could divide this into equal parts. And if there's this much, then that means we have 3 out of 4, right? 3 out of 4, the number of parts to equal size pieces of the whole, or parts of the whole. Okay. So let's talk about multiplying fractions. Well, just as a reminder about what multiplication is, if you have numbers like 3 times 5, well, the answer is 15, right? You already know that. But what is multiplication again? Remember, it's repeated addition, right? We have a group of 3 things. So there's a group of 3 things. And how many of those groups do we have? We have 5 of them. So if we have 5 groups of 3 things, then we have 15 individual total things. So this is the total. So what does it mean then to multiply a fraction? Well, we have a group of 6 things right here, right? A group of 6 things. But we only have half of a group. So instead of adding over and over again, you can't add over and over again something that is less than 1, right? Here we're adding 3 5 times. How do we add 6 a half a time? Well, this means that we're going to add up half of a group. We're only going to look at a half of a group. So a half group of 6 is 3, right? This is our answer right here. So 6 times 1/2 is 3. So what does that look like when we're multiplying fractions? Well, let's say we have a half of something, like a half of this cookie here. Well, a half of a cookie, oopsies. A half of a cookie is this portion of the cookie, right? This portion of the cookie. So what would it mean if we were going to add up a quarter section of this cookie? Well, just like with the previous slide, where a half group of 6 is half of this, we're going to split up this this group of 1/2 here into quarters. So if we were going to get a quarter group out of this, we could divide this piece into a half, right? And then we could divide the halves into halves also. Something like this. So now we have the half, which is this portion of it right here. And we've cut it up into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And how many pieces do we have? Well, we have 1 of the fourths, right? So that's this piece right here. So what is this piece then? Well, this whole thing is now cut into 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. And we have 1 of them. So we have 1/8. So if you have a group of 1/2, and we're going to add it over and over again 1/4 time, then we're going to have a total of 1/8. Now, I know many of you already know how to multiply fractions, so why am I telling you all this? Well, I wanted you to be familiar with this idea that we're dealing with here, which is that when we are multiplying by a fraction, when we multiply by a fraction, it's essentially the same as division. But only when the fraction is between 0 and 1. It has to be less than 1. So actually I'm going to put a less than symbol there. And then I'm going to put a greater than symbol in front of the 0. So it has to be greater than 0, less than 1. If your fraction is less than 0, or I'm sorry, greater than 0 and less than 1, then this multiplication problem is basically the same as division. And actually, before I move on, I want to talk about one more thing. When we were talking about percent of, remember that percent of is basically a multiplication problem, right? So for example, if I said 50% of 6, 50% of 6 is 6 times 0.50, right? Because to turn 50% into a decimal, we would move the decimal point 2 times to the left, and so that would equal 0.5. It works the same way with a fraction. So if I said 1/2 of 6, that's the same thing as this problem right here. 6 times 1/2. So this phrase, here we have percent of, and here we have a fraction of. If you have this phrase where you have a fraction, fraction, that's an F, a fraction of, then this is the same thing as multiplication. That's the operation that we're using. And that operation, if you're multiplying by a fraction that's less than 1, or a decimal number that's less than 1, but I don't want to confuse you, don't worry about the decimals. But if you're multiplying by a fraction where the numerator is less than the denominator but not 0, then your final answer is going to be smaller than 6 because you're basically dividing. Okay. Now, earlier I said you've probably already learned this because you've probably already learned how to model with this. And remember also that in math, the numbers are like representations of something that's happening in real life, right? The numbers are modeling a real thing. So if I said 4/5, this is probably 4/5 of something, right? We don't ever do math just for the sake of doing math in real life. The numbers always mean something. They always represent some real life thing. So for example, if this is 4/5 of a cookie and I have 3/7 of that cookie, then that would mean that this number sentence right here, this expression, would represent that situation. And to do multiplication with fractions, you just multiply straight across. 4 times 3, 5 times 7 is 12/35. All right, your turn. Do these problems and fill them out in the Edpuzzle. All right, so here's the first one. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 3 is also 6. So this is just 1. The second one's a little bit more difficult because we have 2 mixed numbers here. The mixed numbers should be converted into improper fractions before moving on. So this is 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 3 which is 11 over 4. And this is 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 1, which is 7, over 2. And we're multiplying these. So this is 77 over 8. Here we have 6 plus 1 is 7 over 2 times 3 over 4. So this is 21 over 8. Here we have 4 over 3 times 5 over 6, which is 20 over 18, which can be reduced to 10 over 9. Here we have 1/4, and here we have 7 over 3 times 5 over 4, which is 35 over 12. Okay. Now that you've had a little bit of practice, go ahead and go to My iMaths and complete the assignment. If you don't complete the assignment, please do it for homework. And if you do, please complete the assignment in Khan Academy as an extension. Have a good day. I'm sorry I'm not with you there today. Oh, and when you finish, for the last 5 minutes of class, please do the skills checklist. Thank you. Bye.